Have you ever had that uneasy feeling in a relationship, a sense that something dark and manipulative was unfolding in the most intimate part of your life, yet you couldn't pinpoint what it was? Imagine waking up next to someone who used to shower you with affection, only to feel empty, confused, or even fearful. Welcome to The Stages of Narcissistic Sexual Abuse, where we explore how someone with narcissistic traits might use sex as a weapon of control and humiliation rather than an expression of love. Picture Casey, a warm-hearted individual who believed in the sanctity of marital vows. In the early days, her spouse was almost too good to be true, attentive, passionate, and eager to fulfill her every desire. Over time, though, small red flags turned into massive alarm bells. The gentle, thoughtful partner began demanding sexual acts that made her uncomfortable, then belittled her when she hesitated. This once loving dynamic morphed into a nightmare of manipulation, intimidation, and sometimes sheer terror. If these opening words strike a chord, if you or someone you know has felt trapped in an intimate relationship that's veered into abuse, take just a second to type, "I understand," in the comments. Sometimes, acknowledging that gut feeling can be the first step to realizing you're not alone. Over the next 15+ minutes, we'll walk through the stages of narcissistic sexual abuse, from subtle grooming to overt violence. Along the way, we'll continue Casey's story, highlight rumors of celebrity relationships that exhibit similar red flags, and discuss how you can recognize, and hopefully escape, these toxic patterns. By the end, you'll see that your fears are valid and that help is within reach. Before diving into the stages, let's clarify what narcissistic sexual abuse entails. In a healthy relationship, sex is a mutual act of affection, respect, and openness. But with a narcissist, the focus skews drastically. Narcissistic personality disorder, at its core, involves a grandiose sense of self, a craving for admiration, and a glaring lack of empathy. When those traits invade the bedroom, sex transforms from mutual connection into a game of domination and validation. Some folks might see this scenario in certain celebrity relationships. Think of high-profile rumors where one partner controls the other's appearance, demands humiliating sexual acts, or flaunts infidelity. While we can't confirm every tabloid story, these recurring themes in the public eye underscore how narcissists often use sex not as a bond, but as a power play. Comment, awareness, if you feel it's important to spread knowledge about these manipulative tactics. Sometimes sharing a single word can spark a conversation that saves someone from enduring long-term abuse. Back to Casey. The earliest signs were subtle. Her spouse, let's call him Jordan, would do small, mildly uncomfortable things, like making suggestive comments in front of her friends or wanting to fondle her under the table during family gatherings. Casey brushed off the awkwardness as harmless fun, because Jordan framed it as proof of how irresistible he found her. Yet a part of her felt uneasy. Stage 1, Grooming. Narcissists often begin by testing boundaries with seemingly minor acts. They might insist on sending explicit pictures during your work hours or share details of your intimacy with their close friends, passing it off as a joke. Their goal is to see if you'll comply or protest. Once they confirm you'll let it slide, they know they can escalate. Casey remembers the first time Jordan posted a semi-intimate photo of them online, something she'd never consented to. When she confronted him, he downplayed it, saying, "You're overreacting, babe." Everyone thought it was cute. Feeling guilty for appearing prudish, she let it go. This was the beginning of her confusion and self-doubt. If you've witnessed these early tests, moments that made your stomach churn but you couldn't quite name why, type, "I see it," in the comments. Sometimes acknowledging the small steps helps you identify the bigger pattern. After the grooming stage, narcissists typically shift into stage 2, where they start employing verbal manipulation and sexual insults. Early in the relationship, they might have praised you, telling you you're the best lover they've ever had. But once any disagreement arises over sexual preferences, they flip. You're suddenly boring, manipulative, or incompetent. The narcissist will accuse you of withholding sex as a form of control, twist your genuine discomfort into "you're too sensitive," and escalate the name-calling. Casey recalls the first time Jordan called her selfish for not wanting to try a degrading act he'd seen in explicit videos. That night, words like prude and ungrateful hit her like a slap in the face. Eventually, he concluded with, "No wonder your exes got bored. You can't keep up," shredding her self-esteem. Some might wonder if public figures rumored to be narcissists behave similarly. Reports have suggested certain stars degrade their partners off-camera, though they act charming at red carpet events. This discrepancy between public praise and private insults is a hallmark of narcissistic dynamics. If you've noticed this pattern, where you go from hero to zero in the blink of an eye, comment hero to zero to let others know they're not alone in facing that sudden switch. Jealousy rages. By now, the narcissist's controlling streak intensifies. They may demand explicit details of your sexual past, only to weaponize that information against you. You find yourself accused of flirting or cheating simply for being polite to a friend. They might pressure you to dress extremely conservatively or, paradoxically, push you to wear provocative clothing. Both ways, you're set up for blame, you're showing off your body, or you're no fun. Coercion tactics. Narcissists then combine shame, guilt, or threats to make you prove loyalty via sexual acts. If you hesitate, they'll whine or rage, refusing to let you sleep or leave until you concede. It's essentially coerced consent, which is another form of sexual abuse. Casey recounts the night Jordan cornered her after a party. He was furious that she'd spent too long chatting with an old friend. He demanded sex, to confirm you're still mine. She was mentally exhausted and gave in, feeling disgusted with herself afterward for not standing firm. If you've ever found yourself pressured to have sex, just to keep the peace, take a second to comment, "Peace over me." It might help someone realize coerced sex is not real consent. The pushy stage. At this point, the narcissist becomes relentless. No sexual frequency or style is enough. They belittle your stance, lumping earlier tactics, guilt, gaslighting, blame, into one intense outburst until you cave. It's not about mutual satisfaction but demonstrating they can break your boundaries whenever they choose. Threatening infidelity. When verbal pressure isn't enough, they dangle threats of cheating. "If you don't keep me interested, someone else will," they might say. Some go further, openly flirting or maintaining ambiguous friendships with ex-partners or your close acquaintances. The objective? Keep you constantly on edge, feeling inadequate and desperate to please them. Casey describes how Jordan often made flippant remarks about a celebrity he found hot, comparing Casey unfavorably. He'd say, "If only you could be more adventurous, like her," fueling her insecurity. This consistent undermining trapped Casey in a cycle of trying to do more sexually to stay relevant, no matter how uncomfortable it made her. If you sense a partner's been weaponizing jealousy, using it to push you to extremes, comment, "No more extremes." Sometimes seeing others speak up emboldens you to set boundaries. Inciting fear. At some point, the narcissist may turn physically menacing or overtly violent. You find yourself giving in to avoid being hit, humiliated publicly, or financially cut off. If they do enact these threats, they blame you, "You forced my hand." They demand sex afterward as a twisted, make-up scenario. Violent stage. Not every narcissist escalates to physical violence, but those who do may commit marital rape or severe forms of sadistic abuse. Legally, rape is rape, marriage or relationship status doesn't exempt it. Once violence is normalized, returning to genuine intimacy becomes nearly impossible. It's purely about exerting power. Casey sobbed recounting the night Jordan pinned her down, ignoring her repeated pleas to stop. The next day, he insisted it was make-up sex after a fight they had earlier, feigning ignorance about her visible distress. From that night on, she feared being alone with him yet felt trapped by marital and financial ties. If you've realized that violence in a sexual context is never justified, you might just type "never justified" here. It's a public statement that might awaken someone else too. Let's see how Casey recognized the point of no return. After enduring repeated episodes, she confided in a close friend, who introduced the concept of narcissistic sexual abuse. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces fit: grooming, coercion, belittling, threatening infidelity, the pushy stage, every box was ticked. This clarity was both relieving and heartbreaking. We've also heard rumors about high-profile individuals caught in these patterns, whispers about certain celebrities who publicly appear philanthropic or charismatic yet privately degrade their partners, forcing them into acts they despise. While tabloids can exaggerate, the persistent theme is a mismatch between external charm and internal tyranny. Casey realized she might never fix Jordan. She had to decide whether to remain hostage to his cycles of cruelty or salvage her sanity by leaving, no matter the stigma or shame. If you empathize with Casey's sense of clarity and heartbreak, comment "clarity and courage" to show solidarity. 1. Recognize the pattern. Label each stage of manipulation for what it is: abuse. Understanding you're not overreacting is crucial. 2. Confide in someone safe. Friends, family, or a professional counselor can provide the outside perspective you need. If you suspect immediate danger, consider reaching out to local shelters or hotlines. 3. Document incidents. In many jurisdictions, evidence of physical harm or repeated abuse can help obtain protection orders or legal recourse, especially if you decide to leave. 4. Safety plan. If you're considering leaving, form a discreet plan, save money, secure a safe place to stay, and keep important documents ready. Sometimes leaving abruptly without a plan can escalate the narcissist's retaliation. 5. Therapy and aftercare. Even post-escape, survivors often grapple with guilt, trauma, and trust issues. Therapists specializing in domestic or sexual abuse can guide healing. Remember, you deserve relationships built on respect, not fear. If you believe mental health professionals can be lifesavers, type "support matters." It might encourage someone to reach out for help. We've journeyed through the stages of narcissistic sexual abuse, from mild grooming tactics and verbal degradations to potential extremes of violence. You've seen how Casey's story, along with rumors in celebrity circles, highlight the universal patterns of narcissistic manipulation. The central lesson: sex should never be a currency for control or an avenue for fear. If your intimate relationship has devolved into a battlefield of coercion, humiliation, or physical dominance, know that you are not to blame. Narcissists master the art of flipping guilt onto their partners, but knowledge is your shield. Recognizing these stages: grooming, verbal assault, jealousy rages, coercion, violence, can be your first real step out of the shadows. Above all, remember you are worthy of safety, dignity, and genuine love. If even a small part of you resonates with Casey's experience, let her courage remind you that it's possible to break free, rebuild your life, and reclaim your sense of self. Seeking therapy, confiding in trusted friends, or contacting specialized hotlines are strong, brave moves toward liberation. As we close, drop a quick "I deserve freedom" in the comments if you believe no one should remain trapped in an abusive relationship. Thank you for watching, and please share this video with someone who might need this message. Sometimes, a single share can spark the realization that helps them move toward safety and healing. Stay strong, stay informed, and always remember you do not have to endure any form of abuse, physical, emotional, or sexual, to keep a relationship. You deserve far better.